Welcome to the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. I'm Larry Wagner, and I've spent 30 years working with seniors, where I was a certified senior advisor, and the last 15 years in the home buying industry as a certified senior transition specialist, where I specialize in dealing with seniors going through a transition in their lives. This podcast is for seniors, those with seniors they love, and people who work in the senior community. In each episode, we bring on a guest who works to improve the lives of seniors. This podcast is your key to unlocking senior resources. Welcome. Today we're here with Alexander Paykin from Paykin Law. Did I pronounce that properly?
You did, Larry.
Perfect. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Alex. So you're a lawyer. I looked at your website. It's a very comprehensive website, which I find most lawyers are lacking. And they have no presence or very little. And you do. Most have a Gmail address. You actually have a Paykin Law address, which seems so simple. But you're a successful attorney. First question I always ask, how did you get to become an attorney? What brought you down that path?
Oh, I'll answer that. But considering what you just mentioned, I'm going to deviate first and say two things.
Go ahead.
I teach courses where I regularly rant to attorneys, please don't use a Gmail address, an AOL address, a Yahoo address, not because it's unprofessional, which it is.
Right, which it is.
But because those are free email accounts.
Right.
And you know how if you send by Gmail right now that you're thinking about buying a boat, the next thing that happens is you're going to get advertised for boats everywhere?
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, guess what? Attorney-client privilege doesn't really allow us to send emails that Google gets to mine for information.
Oh.
And so if you think about it, if you're not paying for your own domain and your own professional email address, it's not just aesthetics, it's business. It's actually a professional violation. And as for content on a website, well, considering most people nowadays look for flash instead of substance, that's you're finding what you're finding.
Yeah, exactly. With that said, I did not know what you just said. I just assumed, I look at it as unprofessional and back in the Stone Age kind of thinking, and you're not willing to invest a few bucks in your own business. But I did not know the professional and the liability issue.
Oh, absolutely. I teach legal technology. I teach technology of all sorts to lawyers. And we need a lot of work there.
A very appropriate segue, but we're going to skip that segue. We're going to talk about AI today. But let's go back to how you got here.
So first encounter I had with the lawyer was when I was just around 9 years old. It was in Italy. We had immigrated from the Soviet Union back when Reagan and Gorbachev made a deal, and it sounded like America was taking immigrants with open arms. There were no direct flights from Russia to America, intentionally, I think.
Right.
So everybody was allowed to leave with an Israeli visa and then apply to the U.S. once they got to a third country, Italy. Well, we got to Italy, and then, of course, the U.S. apparently had quotas that they didn't mention to anybody in advance. And so my parents applied for asylum. It was denied. Then they applied again. It was denied. They were getting ready to give up and basically had nowhere to go. And then a lawyer from the U.S. in a flashy suit shows up in Santa Marinella, which is where we were staying. It became like a little immigrant ghetto. And he gets up on a stone wall and starts telling everybody that if they give them all their money, he will resubmit, and that with his firm's expertise and competence, he's confident he's going to get everybody approved. Well, my parents scraped together every dollar they could, borrowed, begged, and gave him all the money. Couple of months went by. They were ready to completely give up. They were already talking about moving to Israel, which at the time my mother really didn't want to do. And suddenly a letter shows up. At that point, my parents had assumed this was a snake oil salesman, took the money, flashy suit, disappeared. Suddenly a letter shows up from the law firm saying, congratulations, you've been approved. And here's the contact info of a charity that's going to help take care of your plane tickets.
A happy story that I would not have expected to go that way.
First time I got to see a lawyer do something, and it happened to be something extremely positive, and not just for us, but for a lot of families there. And that got me interested in law and just the concept. And that got reinforced when I was in high school, right here in Comac High School, actually. And I was still very interested in law, and I heard of high school mock trial.
Oh, right.
The school actually had its team disband in the prior year because there wasn't enough interest. So I walked around the school pretty much harassing everybody, every friend I could find, every enemy. And I was like, you got to join the mock trial team.
And
Trust
it's
me.
better. They could be on the other side.
Yeah. And I convinced the teacher that was previously the faculty, whatever person for it, to rekindle the club, and became its de facto unofficial captain in my freshman year. For the 3 years I was in high school, we were terribly defeated regularly. But along the way, I really got into the idea of litigation, of proving things, of representing somebody and getting the truth out there. And so on I went to college, got a degree in computer science, and then the tech bubble burst. So it was inevitable that I go to law school.
Of course, natural segue. Yeah.
And during that time, I also ran an IT company that built custom software for law firms. Well, and for doctors too, but doctors, lawyers, accountants, given my computer science background. So by the time I finished law school, I then was basically in an extremely weird, maybe even unique position. Well, not unique. There's a few other people like me, but a lawyer who was high tech. And that's the opposite of what a lawyer is by every definition.
It is. It is.
You know, I still have lawyers that I consult to that use paper files that if you call them outside of business hours, they tell you, oh, I can't get you that information until Tuesday. I'm out of the office. Well, if you call me outside of business hours, I've got a device. I say, hold on, let me put you on speaker and pull that up. And the idea of digitizing all the paper files back in 2010 was still so new. Most law firms didn't think they had to get rid of their filing cabinets. We don't own any.
Wow. I know the lawyers I've dealt with in my career. I've probably purchased 500 houses in the last 17 years. Every single one of those files exists somewhere. Well, I guess they get shredded after a while, but yes, even we'd get copies of all of them. And then my son, pre-COVID, I mean, months before COVID, bought everyone identical computers for our office, and everyone had a laptop now, and he made everything paperless, our entire office paperless. And COVID hit. Everyone had, so if there's ever a computer problem, and he was a tech guy, he's my business partner, he'd be able to solve everything over the phone because he knew the computers, you had the same ones, and everything was digital, so in electronic. So the fact that we now remote didn't matter, and we never went back to an office.
Yeah, you know, my firm did the same thing. We have a hybrid schedule. Everybody's allowed to work from anywhere. And we had that before COVID. But when COVID hit and everybody else was saying, oh my God, what are we going to do? I sent out an email saying, going forward, everyone's required to work remotely, whereas everybody could work remotely anytime. Now it was the office is off limits. Please go about your business. The only reason we were delayed in getting any work done is, well, how can I put this? Everybody else. The courts, opposing parties, opposing counsels, clients, nobody could get to their data. Nobody could coordinate their side. We were able to do everything. I mean, even in-person meetings, when we had to do closings, we didn't skip a beat. We'd meet with clients in parking lots, literally bring them whatever paper had to actually be physical paper, put it on the hood of a car, walk away, say, okay, sign over there, get it back to me, and I will notarize it. Nothing in today's world can't be solved with technology, ingenuity, a little clever thinking, and sometimes old school technology, you know, I'll drive to you, we'll meet in a parking lot, is still a perfectly good solution when it's necessary.
I'm going to ask you questions off camera because I don't want to take time here about remote notaries. But we'll talk about that afterwards.
That could be an hour all by itself.
Well, that's not important for this podcast, but important for my business. But this is a podcast about senior citizens, and most people that I've dealt with, I'm going through a whole series now with working with attorneys, but I deal with a lot of home care people in that industry, senior related, where they're dealing with the senior, usually in some level of health or distress or whatnot. And they all have grandparent stories, things of that nature. And yours is a totally different story. It's a coming to America story, and made possible by an attorney, which gave you a good sense that attorneys could actually do well and do good and do well. So that's actually a different story than I'm used to hearing. It's a very nice one. It's a very, very nice story. I was hoping it was going that way, that there was another chapter to that story before you got there, but there wasn't. All right. So you're a technologist and an attorney. My son, before he joined me, he worked for tech startups. That was what he did after college, even during college. And I always said he's bilingual. He knows how to speak marketing and knows how to speak technology. And the marketing department goes out, speaks to the clients. The clients want something built, and they don't know how to tell the technologist how to build it. So they tell my son would then speak technology to technologists. You speak marketing to the marketing people, and they would together accomplish what needed to be created. But you're one brain. So no one has to translate for you. You do it all internally. So that's fascinating. And I was looking at your website, and then I was looking you up online. I saw a fascinating podcast about the use of AI in the kind of traditional lawyer roles, writing trusts, documents, wills, things of that nature. How does that play into this world today, which most attorneys, I'm assuming, I say most without knowing but quite confident, are not using?
Well, I do teach AI a lot.
Yeah.
It's an extremely, amazingly powerful tool.
Yeah.
It's also an extremely dangerous tool. There's now a website, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's a favorite on my browser, that logs all of the misuse of AIs by attorneys, which resulted in, and this is litigation only because it's impossible to track transactions,
Right.
but all of the different times where lawyers got sanctioned or lost a case or got suspended for misusing AI and having hallucinated cases and whatnot. So that is the dangerous part.
Right.
AI is not perfect, but the optimal use of AI by lawyers is in reducing all the tedious tasks, all the manual labor of chronologically positioning documents, reviewing for details, even cross-checking things.
Right.
Where in the past, we used to spend a lot of money on paralegals or other support staff doing a lot of the manual labor. Now I can throw a document into AI and say, reorganize these thoughts so they flow better, and put everything in chronological order and make it sound stricter. And poof, there's a demand letter that's now better than it was before. Whereas in the past, preparing certain documents, even estate planning, just gathering all the information, even if the lawyer had templates, and that's already using a lot of technology and document automation.
Right.
But before, it used to be that even the templates had to be populated. Well, now you can have a conversation with the client. You can literally have AI listening in with the client's consent, of course. So I use, for example, a tool called Querious. I speak to the client. The AI is listening in. It's taking notes on all the facts, and it's taking notes of all the legal issues involved. So if it's litigation, it's thinking about the causes of action, the elements, what facts we already know, what facts we need to find out, and so on. If we're talking estate planning, it's thinking about, well, who are the heirs? What are the assets? Every time the client mentions something, it takes down that note. Now I can look through those notes later and not have to have A, spent a lot more time during the meeting being slow about taking notes, or B, having a paralegal in there with me writing things down.
At another expense.
Right. And I've got everything. AI, through the recording live as it happened, it'll even come up with what it thinks are intelligent ideas for additional questions to ask the client if it sees an issue you didn't notice yet.
Right.
Oh, well, pursuant to this section of the Internal Revenue Code, this client might be subject to A, B, and C. You should ask them if this applies to be sure.
It's doing that live while you're...
It's doing it live while I'm talking to the client.
Right.
Whereas the client might ask me a tax question and I might say, I'm going to need to research that for you and come back in 2 hours with the answer. If he asks while the AI is listening, I might already have on the screen from the AI, that's USC section blah, blah, blah. In this case, it's this. In this case, it's that. And I can answer the question. And I might not want to take AI's word for it, but now I might be able to tell the client, hold on a second, let me copy paste that statute. Let me read it in 30 seconds and tell you whether, whether this applies or not. But now I don't have to first spend an hour finding the right statute.
AI is not the end all, but it's a hell of a good start. And it's actually more beyond a good start.
Indeed.
But you have to be the finisher.
Indeed. But now with AI tools, I can basically have AI take all the notes. Then I can drop my estate planning document templates into AI and tell it to combine different AI. One AI takes the notes, a different AI that's good at drafting. I give it my templates and I say, based on these notes, draft actual completed documents based on these templates for my client. It can draft that, and then my job is to read, review, make sure it matches what I wanted done, make some edits along the way, and give the client a finished product. Now, I still have to be involved. The lawyer has to be the human in the loop. You can't just have AI do the work because AI is not perfect, and AI is not licensed, And AI
It's not licensed.
And AI is not insured.
Right. I was going to say you can't sue AI. I was
Right.
going to say that.
So in the end, if AI screws everything up,
Right.
the client's going to sue me. I'll be the one disbarred. I'll be the one with the malpractice claim.
Right.
So I'll be the one that takes responsibility for the draft every time.
Right.
So that means I can have AI be the assistant. It can do basically everything as long as I direct it. And then I review the final product and bless the final version or make the final version based on all of its work. But estate planning can now go from a 10 or 15 hour process in terms of legal time to maybe a 2 to 3 hour process.
Right.
4 maybe if you include execution that has a lot of small talk.
Right.
But realistically, that means the lawyer can take on more clients, run a more efficient practice, and the client pays a lot less money.
Right.
So in practice, the use of AI, the use of really any kind of technology, not only reduces price, but it increases quality. Right. Because I might miss something during a meeting. We're all human. I might misread a note. But if the AI is listening in, and now it's my memory plus the AI's notes, plus the AI having a full recording that I could go back to, plus having that put together the document and me review it, you're essentially getting a second lawyer. Now, the second lawyer is not really a lawyer.
Right.
It's just a computer. But the computer is looking out for things that the human might miss.
Right.
But it's the human's job to look out for the things the computer might miss.
Right.
So if used correctly, AI improves quality, AI reduces cost, and AI makes things a lot faster. To give you an example, just today, I had a client send me a whole bunch of documents and needed a letter to go out right away. Would have taken me 3 hours, and
client wait till the last minute.
Well, client
They never do that.
Client decided to hire a lawyer today, and today was the day that the responsive letter was due.
Oh, there you go. Okay, there you go.
It happens. I forgive that sort of thing.
Okay.
But I got the email with all the documents at around 11 a.m. I had to leave for here at 12:30.
Right.
I had an hour and a half. If I had to manually put together all the documents in the right order, figure out what happened in order to establish what I could put in that letter, I wouldn't be here on time. Instead, the entire process took 54 minutes.
Wow.
From the point where he sent me all the documents to the point where I was able to send him a proposed draft letter, say, here, review this. If you like it, we'll get it out. And then I hopped in the car and went here with the logic of if he needed any edits, I can get them done on a portable device as I go. Client loved the letter. It went out. All in between the time the client hired us and the time I was all done and my paralegal was done shipping it out, it was 0.9 hours of attorney time, 0.4 hours of paralegal time. Neither one of us hit a full hour, and the client got his job done.
That's amazing.
That would not have happened 2 years ago.
So you wouldn't have gotten it done in time, which would have been catastrophic.
Well, what would have happened is somebody else would have had to have been driving my car on the way to here. I would have had my laptop going the entire way. I would have been on phones yelling at people to help me review things. We would have gotten it done because, I mean, as a firm that does both transactions and litigation, we have last minute things.
Right.
It's unavoidable all the time.
Yep.
So we know how to deal with any kind of struggle like that, but the struggle became a lot easier.
Right.
Now technology just takes care of it for us. Well, in some cases.
In some cases. And you said something very interesting before we started recording, that paralegals are, there's less work for paralegals because of AI.
Absolutely. At this point, paralegal work is becoming more skilled labor and less manual labor. So, and it's a technology progression. If you think about it, back when things had to be hand calligraphied, I'm sure there was a lot of assistant time spent on that. Then we moved to typewriters, then we moved to computers, then we moved to electronic filing, templates, digital signatures. Every step of the way, manual parts of moving paper around have been getting reduced. So with every year, I see a reduction in paper. At this point, right before AI, we were getting to the point where 70% of legal work was now paperless. At least could be if the lawyer used technology, embraced automation, we could reduce our paper expenditures and printing costs by about 70% already. With AI, the amount of paper being moved hasn't really changed because, well, the only reason we still have paper is because it's required a lot of the time. You know, we need paper wills, we need paper deeds. There's just certain things we can't get around yet. That'll go away on its own. But as far as AI, it has reduced a lot of the manual stuff of write up a letter, prepare an invoice, send a follow-up this, put all of this in chronological order. And a lot of the manual things that the paralegals used to have to do doesn't need to be done as much anymore.
Right.
To give you an example, I regularly used to have one of my paralegals proofread everything that I wrote for grammar, style, spelling, etc., because I tend to either use speech to text or type extremely fast, occupational hazard from my prior career. And I sometimes skip a word, the grammar doesn't quite work out. And I always need my paralegal to review everything to make sure I didn't mistype something.
Right.
Well, now I take that Word file, drop it into AI and say, review it, revise it so it reads better and is clearer, give it a tone, make it aggressive, make it collaborative, make it whatever, and then give me a clean copy and a red line so I can see what you changed.
Right.
And in 30 seconds, I've got an edited draft. I can approve and reject all the changes I want. Off it goes, and I don't even have to bother my paralegal.
Interesting. So, question for you. I'm thinking the people write wills and trusts of all age. Well, trusts probably more when they're older. When you have assets, make it worthwhile. Or if you're young and you have children, you have to deal with, especially disabled children. But when you're dealing with the 50-plus sect, and they know you're using AI for what you do, are they perfectly comfortable with that, or does that make them nervous?
I mean, there's definitely a subset of the population that thinks AI is out to get us.
Right.
And, maybe it is.
Right.
I don't know.
The robots coming.
Sure. If you watch enough sci-fi, some of it's believable.
Right. Yeah.
But no, AI is nothing to be afraid of, again, in the right hands.
Yeah.
There are lawyers, just like there are people who are not lawyers all over the place misusing AI. Mm-hmm. AI is not your psychiatrist. AI is not your lawyer. AI is not your CPA.
Right.
If you want to use AI for legal advice, God bless,
right,
or for tax advice, you're going to get into trouble.
Right.
It's not perfect. It's not reliable. But much like my second-year law student intern may not be perfect or 100% reliable in his knowledge of the law, he saves me a lot of time and my clients a lot of billable hours by doing certain tasks that he already has the skill and capacity to do, like putting documents in chronological order. And yes, I'll take a look at them, and if I see a mistake, I'll rearrange them myself.
Right.
But I now have an extra assistant who the client isn't paying for.
Right.
So I treat AI as an unpaid intern.
Right.
Will I trust everything it says to me? God, no, under no circumstances, just blindly trust AI.
Nor would you trust the unpaid intern.
Right.
Right.
But will I take their thoughts into account? If they do the research, will I double check it and they go, great, you spent 10 hours chasing down this case and that's what I wanted. You're right. Good job. You saved me 10 hours. Absolutely.
Right.
If he finds me a garbage case, will I reject it and look for my own? Yes. But as long as I rely on AI to do what it's good at and verify everything that it's not, it saves the clients a lot of money. And in the end, my answer to clients who are afraid of AI and who don't want me using it is, okay, you're literally telling me you want my staff to manually do these things and you want to spend a lot more money.
Right.
Fine. It's your money. It's about to become my money.
Right.
And I'm comfortable with AI. So God bless. If you want to give me more of your money because you don't want me to work efficiently, that's your call. But that's like, imagine if in 1995 a client came into a law firm and said, I don't want you using computers to work on my file.
But don't use a typewriter, handwrite my will.
It's like, fine. If somebody comes in and says, I want a typewritten will on a typewriter, I'm afraid of technology, I don't want anything in an electronic system anywhere.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
My staff will pull out the typewriter. We own one.
I was going to say, you do have one?
We do own one. There are still situations where you need to do the carbon forms.
Okay. There you go.
Yes, there are still government agencies out there that use them and corporations. You've probably seen them more than anything in rental car agreements still.
Oh, that's
If you get a rental car, there's going to be one of those oak key printers from God only knows when with the dot matrix. Bzzz. Well, they're using the carbon forms.
That's interesting.
They bought trillions of them back in the day, and until they use them all up, they're not switching to digital.
That's right. I remember going to college. I used my mother's portable manual Olivetti typewriter from 1950, and with the erasable bond paper, and very slow going, especially when you type like this, And
the worst is when you make a mistake that's just a little beyond correcting with the whiteout because you realize the error 3 sentences later, and then it's just too late to go try to fix it. Yep, rip out the page.
Yeah, it's another day of my life printing that page, typing that page. I was very slow.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. I mean, it's literally, I remember when I started in college, we'd handwrite papers back in the 70s. And then it went to typewritten papers, but they would accept either one. Could you imagine accepting a handwritten paper today? Especially my handwriting?
Yeah, I still don't understand how I possibly passed the bar exam because we were still using the blue books.
Oh, yes.
And first essay, fine. My handwriting was more or less legible. Yes. Even by the end of the first day of the New York State bar exam, my handwriting was still kind of legible. Right. Then there was the second day, which is the multi-state bar, which is a day of multiple choice. And then the third day was the New Jersey bar exam. Right. And by the time I was halfway through the day, I couldn't feel my hand anymore. Right. I'd been writing way too many pages and way too many blue books. Yeah. And I would look at what I was writing and I was like, I know what I'm saying. Right. No one will ever figure it out based on that.
Oh, they did. You passed.
It's shocking.
You said that. Now you know why. Yeah.
They just took my scribble for it.
That's it. They said, if he scribbles that much, he must really know what he's talking about. Anyone who doesn't know what he's talking about is going to try to write neither. But with that said, so from a estate planning point of view, do you ever put like the problem into AI? You know, I have 3 kids, 2 stepsons, and a disabled this, and a first wife, a second wife, and a third wife, and I want to leave this, and it puts it together.
Let me say, that's what it's doing. Not only can it do that, it can analyze way more complex issues. So right now, I just had it analyze what we could do with a whole bunch of assets for a high net worth individual to rearrange which states his various trusts and entities were so as to optimize taxation, so as to minimize creditors. Wow. And for me to read the code of 50 states would be unreasonable. For AI to give me a table of comparisons between the 50 states and for me to then pick whatever the best state is, pick up the phone, call a local trust and estates lawyer and say, I need you to consult on this for an hour. Here's what we're planning. Punch holes in it. Oh my God. We were able to find so many tax advantages, so many estate and trust operational advantages in the various states that are so nuanced that most people wouldn't care. Right. And most lawyers wouldn't know because the codes just get too complicated at some point. But for a particularly high net worth individual, all of those clauses become super important and it's a matter of millions, if not tens of millions. Right. And for AI to be able to analyze it so deeply, spoiler alert, we should all move to Texas before we die. I kid, but for tax purposes and estate purposes, there's so many interesting things about Texas code. We could spend an hour just on that.
I say for corporations, they say Delaware, I think it is. Yeah. And then somewhere out west, of course, Utah, one of those states out there. I haven't heard Texas, though. That's for individuals?
For individuals, yes.
I hadn't heard that.
Apparently, if you want to avoid creditors and taxes, Texas is where you go.
Avoid creditors. Texas is very... I thought they'd be very business friendly, so I'm really surprised about the creditor thing.
I was actually extremely amazed by what I found about Texas. For example, you can't have your wages garnished in Texas if you have a judgment against you. Not in any amount. It doesn't matter if your wages are $1 million a year.
I would not have expected that to be Texas. I expect New Mexico. Interesting. Very Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of weird rules like that in Texas. They have the same kind of homestead exemption as Florida, where you can have a multi-million-dollar mansion, and that's okay too for bankruptcy purposes. Right. So amazing protections there. Not that I'm suggesting anybody avoid their fair share of taxes. Right. As a resident in New York City,
we pay. Oh God, you pay a fair share times 3. It's bad enough you have at least you don't have high property taxes in New York City.
That is true, but to be fair, I live in a condo, so my common charges and special assessments would literally raise your hair standing up.
Yeah. Yep.
Hi, I'm Larry. And I'm Ben. We're the father and son team of Leave the Key Homebuyers, and we want to buy your house.
We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes and we understand what you were going through.
So if you're considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out and see how we can help.
Do you have an outdated home?
No need to update anything.
Have a home that needs repairs?
Don't bother with repairs.
Don't want to take everything with you?
Leave whatever you want behind.
Dreading the headaches that come with agents?
Sell your home without paying a commission.
Dreading prying neighbors, attending open houses, and passing judgment on your home?
No need for public showings.
When you sell to us, you'll have all the certainty of closing on your timeline, not someone else's, and there's absolutely no pressure.
Visit leavethekey.com or call us today for a no-obligation offer at 631-388-7771 if you want to sell your home today.
We're just buying a condo in Brooklyn right by Prospect Park. The fees are crazy. We're buying actually one on Long Island in Manorville, an inexpensive condo, $1,600 a month maintenance on a $250,000 condo. Very disproportionate.
That better be a really nice condo with pools and golf clubs.
No golf clubs, no bowling alleys. It does have bocce, but I don't think bocce is worth $1,500 a month. But with that said, but they all in that community, they all sell at this price, and they sell. So people they sell at a lower price than they should because
I was going to say that high common charge factors in.
Absolutely.
That's the main thing with co-ops and condos. Looking at just the purchase price is meaningless.
Yep.
Because you have to calculate the common charges, the maintenance, the assessments, the property taxes. Well, not property taxes you leave alone, but everything else, bring it to present value after figuring out how many years you intend to own it for.
Yep.
And that's your true purchase price.
Yep. And I say it's an affordability index. How much can you afford to spend every month? When you put all those numbers together, and the price becomes just one of those numbers with the monthly mortgage payment for that. Absolutely. So I know you're talking my language, real estate.
Well, really, the thing people don't think about with condos and co-ops is that if you buy a house, even if your mortgage is higher than it would be for a co-op or a condo, eventually you pay off your mortgage.
Oh, that's true.
And then what that means is if at 45 right now I were to buy a house with a 30-year mortgage at 75, which is a reasonable time by which I'd like to see myself retiring, if I didn't make any prepayments, I have all the equity in my home. And whether I want to leave it to my kids, whether I want to do a reverse mortgage and start pulling it out, whether I want to sell, I have that equity. But as long as I hold on to it, my costs of living are basically taxes, insurance, and the occasional repair.
Right.
In a co-op or a condo, you pay off that mortgage, and the common charges, the special assessments, they continue on forever.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with the condo that I've been living in while I'm working.
Right.
But after I retire, I can't imagine continuing to pay $4,000 a month for carry costs on something that I, in theory, already paid off.
That's right.
And yes, that technically covers a lot of upkeep that, in theory, in your own house, you're doing on your own.
Yep.
But upkeeping a house is much cheaper than upkeeping your portion of a high-rise building.
Yep. $4,000 a month is more than I spend to upkeep my house.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Absolutely. I always say you have to factor that in, but it's not the whole answer. As you
Exactly.
said. It's true. You're upkeeping an entire building, your share of an entire building.
Exactly.
I don't have an elevator in my house. Right.
You probably don't have a staff of 25 people.
I don't have a staff of
concierge, front desk, janitors, super,
I'd like a staff of
handyman.
one, though. That'll be good.
Right. Someone to deal with those things.
Yeah, I can live with that. Yeah. My son, who travels around a lot, said he was down in Brazil and he was staying at a friend's house, and they had multiple live-ins, and they're having a conversation with the person who lives there, my son and his girlfriend, and she comes over with a plate of cut fruit, just because that's what you do when you're down there. You're your house person, I don't know what role that person played, would do that, and you'd live the life of comfort with people taking care of you. And we're not used to that in America.
No, but I think I would really like somebody to bring me a plate of fruit every day.
That's my son's favorite phrase to us, because we then do everything ourselves. Says, hire someone to cut your fruit. That means like have a gardener, right? Have someone come vacuum for you, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so cut your fruit. So if you have enough money, sometimes it pays just to spend a little bit to have someone cut your fruit, sort of figuratively. So, but that's the running line in our family now. But with that said, so AI not only makes your job easier, makes your job faster, it makes it less expensive to the client. And it actually improves the quality.
Yep. Remember that triangle we used to have? The fast, cheap, good, pick
Yes,
two?
yes.
Well,
You get them all.
AI got the third corner covered.
Yeah.
So now it's find yourself a lawyer, or for that matter, an accountant or any professional that used to rely on manual work and paper.
Right.
And find ones that use AI, find ones that have embraced clouds and technology of all sorts. You'd be surprised how many lawyers I have to teach Microsoft Word.
Really?
I'm not kidding. That is a course that if you Google my name and NISBA, New York State Bar Association, or for that matter, ABA, American Bar Association, I have taught for both, as well as many other bar associations, including the Beverly Hills Bar Association, on how to use Microsoft Word. Now, you're probably going to think, oh, we're only teaching this to attorneys who are in their 70s or something.
Right.
No. The average lawyer I've seen graduate from law school and pass the bar does not know how to use Microsoft Word. They don't. And anybody who tells me they do, I will pull out a laptop, ask them to do 5 functions, and they will demonstrate conclusively that they have no idea what I'm talking about.
They can type.
They can type.
Right.
They know how to use a word processor. They know how to use bold, underline, italic, centered, and to some very limited degree, numbering paragraphs.
Right.
I know a guy, Baron Henley. He's with Affinity Consulting. He teaches a Microsoft Word course to law firms, to bigger firms, that takes anywhere from 8 to 20 hours, depending on the skill levels. He can spend an entire hour and a half on just multi-level numbering lists in Microsoft Word. Multi-level numbering lists, because when you do that whole 1A, sub I, sub whatever, changing the defaults and configuring it to the ideal way you want it is something no lawyer knows how to do.
Interesting.
You will never find one. Even such basic functions as cross-referencing, for example. Have you ever seen a contract where it'll say, whatever as defined in paragraph 17 above, and you scroll to paragraph 17 above and it says nothing of the kind? Because somebody took paragraph 17 above and either deleted it or moved it to paragraph 48 below, and it's somewhere else.
Right.
But nobody went through and checked the document for cross-referencing.
Right.
Well, if you have your paragraphs numbered correctly, when you want to type in see paragraph 17 above, you type in see paragraph, and then you select cross-reference and pick the paragraph you want. That way it types in 17 comma above for you. And if you move it and it becomes 39 below, it automatically updates to 39 below.
It knows.
And your document isn't stupid.
Right.
Now,
You're paying attorneys by the hour who are working inefficiently.
Right. And then paralegals are going through and manually looking for those cross-references to fix them, and they don't always catch them. I mean, now AI can catch them, but still, why should they be caught in the first place? Why are these mistakes being made?
Right.
The concept of what's called styles, which most of the viewers and listeners of this podcast will also not really know what it is. Styles and the proper use of them can make document drafting about 10 to 20% more efficient. It means that Word will essentially take care of all the formatting for you.
Oh, that's interesting.
There is no lawyer that knows how to do formatting properly. They open up Microsoft Word, it defaults to Calibri or Atmos or whatever the newest version of Microsoft Word default font is.
Right.
And the first thing they're doing is switching to Times New Roman, 12-point double-spaced underline. No, they should just be able to click that as the selection because they configure it once.
Right.
They don't.
And save time, save you money in the document drafting.
So I could rant about lack of technology in law all day, but every step of the way, embracing technology saves the client money, saves the lawyer time, and improves the quality of the document. Because in the end, yes, we can all figure out if 17 above meant 39 below in some cases. In some cases, it's a subject of litigation that takes 5 years and costs 6 figures.
Right.
Thank you, transactional lawyers who screwed it up.
Yeah.
I will be charging a lot of money to fix your mistake.
There you go.
But in reality, the quality of the work, the actual professionalism of the firm, I think, is really defined by the lawyer's willingness to embrace all of the tools available to them. Every one of us has hired a lawyer, me included, who hasn't known how to use Microsoft Word. At least everybody who's hired a lawyer.
Right.
I promise you, you've hired one that doesn't know how to use Microsoft Word. And at the same time, I can't imagine you'd hire a contractor that doesn't know how to properly use his cordless drill.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ask your lawyers what tools they use, And often they will look at you and say, oh, I don't know, my IT department does something, it's in a cloud somewhere. Oh, well, if I call you on a Saturday with an emergency, will you have access to the data? Will you be able to quickly look through 5,000 files and tell me the answer? You won't. Why are you still stuck in the 20th century?
Right. It's so critical. My son said, who's a technology guy, gets very angry with me, who's not a technology guy, but I get by. The two of us are the elder cockers in the firm, and everyone else was 67. No one else is over 36. So we're double like the next one almost. So 36, not quite, but with that said, you said something how you lecture and so on. You have a lot of extracurricular activities. You're involved in a lot of other things. I was going to rattle them off when I was looking, but the list was way too long. So I want to know if you wanted to. In advance, I asked you about this, and I don't know if you prepared something on your phone or whatnot. If you want to rattle off some of the things you do, this is your brag moment, because my goal is to have people understand the value of you and your firm, to see how you can help them, whether it's, you do a lot of things, but if we're talking to seniors, if they're drafting wills and so on, if they need litigation and so on, we'll talk about that in a moment. But why don't you just rattle off a few of the accolades between awards and so on? And I'm making him do this, by the way. I told him in advance I would. Go ahead.
Well, my favorite thing to do is to give back any way I can. So I sit on a lot of committees and boards. I'm actually the chair of the Standing Committee on Technology in the Legal Profession for the New York State Bar. As I mentioned, I teach for lots of different bar associations. All of that volunteer work, yay. Yeah. Sometimes they cover airfare.
Wow, okay.
I'm the president of Brighter Tomorrows, which is a domestic violence shelter network here on Long Island. And I do my best to be an active Rotarian, not as much so right now as I'd like to be, but I try. Sit on boards or have sat on boards of lots of 501c3s. And honestly, one of my favorite committees to be on is the New York State Bar Association's subcommittee of the Committee on Law, Youth, and Citizenship.
Called... Repeat that again? Well, hold on a second.
I know. So I'm on the Committee for Law, Youth, and Citizenship of the New York State Bar Association. Okay. But my favorite thing to sit on is a little-known subcommittee called the High School Mock Trial Subcommittee.
Oh, there you go. I wonder why.
I've gone full circle. I've coached the high school mock trial team for about a decade. Now I'm barred from doing that because I sit on the committee that actually makes up the cases and sets up the rules.
Oh.
So went full circle on that, decided to give back there. But if you want to do awards and accolades,
I was looking at those.
There's just too many.
Too many. No. I should look at my phone to prepare it. It doesn't sound, but I was too lazy to put on my phone. So
well, the key ones some people would recognize. Right, among your listeners, the Best of Long Island, Best of the Borough, and Best of the City are the three awards they might have heard of. Those are voted on awards that happen every year. We consistently win Best Law Firm, Best Real Estate Attorney, and Best Lawyer. Right. Not all three categories and all three all the time, but at least a couple in each one constantly for many years now. Right. Among your listeners who know more about legal awards and ratings, I've been rated a super lawyer for a number of years. I've got staff who are rising stars. I obviously used to be a rising star. Apparently I rose as far as I can. Now super lawyers... feels I hit my ceiling. And I am AV preeminent rating, which for those of you who really pay attention to lawyer ratings, A is the rating on how skilled you are. That's done on a letter grade basis, like school. And V is the ethics rating. And in case you're wondering what V is supposed to mean, it's very ethical. What's called when they came up with the AV Preeminent Award, I really don't think they put a lot of effort into what it would sound like to outside parties. But that is considered, the most authoritative rating on lawyers.
I had never heard that when you mentioned that again before we started. That's very interesting. I've never looked. Where does one find such a rating? Where do they go to see that?
You can generally, I'm trying to remember, AV Preeminent is Martindale-Hubbell rates that. Okay. So Martindale-Hubbell is usually used by general counsels and large corporations to essentially vet their lawyers and law firms. So they're the ones who look for that AV Preeminent. It's also the one that lawyers amongst ourselves, and when we see another lawyer who's AV Preeminent, we go, oh, okay, we're dealing with somebody who knows what they're doing and is ethical about it.
There you go.
And you hit those 2 points and lawyers aren't adversaries the way they show on TV. We can be friends outside of work.
Right.
I've got plenty of opposing counsels I'm friends with. Those are generally the ones that I would consider both highly skilled and highly ethical, because why would I want to know anybody else?
That's right.
And then there's the kind of lawyers who are the exact opposite, who are exactly as seen on TV, the ones that give the rest of us a bad name.
Every industry has those, no matter what you do. I'm a house flipper. I buy houses, and some really scummy people in my industry, and it makes me crazy because it brings the whole industry down. And it's very frustrating. As a financial advisor before that, same thing. There's corrupt financial advisors or commission driven, and it's just the way it is. I don't think any industry escapes it.
I was just at a real estate closing last week where my office manager, Nick, and I were both sitting there, and across the table from us was a lawyer that he just sat there, and it was embarrassing to have him in the same room. I mean, I realize he's from the other side. He's not, I'm not responsible for him.
Right.
But just every time he opened his mouth, I have sat there and felt shame for the entire profession. And I was just like, can somebody please stop him from talking?
Right. I've had where my attorney says I have to do all the work for the other attorney. That's not the way it's supposed to be. If your attorney is having the opposing attorney, I mean, I don't like to think when you're in a real estate transaction you're opposing, but you are. There's a buyer and a seller. There's two separate sides. When one side's doing all the work, it's not a good look.
Oh, the number of lazy attorneys that slow down the process because they can't be bothered to review a contract or update a rider or pay attention to their own clients.
Right.
Remember, I do both transactions and litigation.
Right. Yep.
At least 70% of our real estate litigation comes from shoddy work by the transactional lawyer and or the real estate broker.
Right.
And usually if it's the real estate broker, the transactional lawyer should have caught it anyway.
Right.
So the shoddy work by the lawyer is almost always there.
Right.
And we take over and I look at contracts and I speak to the client and I say, did you say that to your prior lawyer? Oh yeah, that was the first thing I said. Well, why doesn't the contract reflect that?
Right.
I don't know. He handed it to me, I signed it.
Right.
Because clients reasonably trust their lawyers.
It's so funny. When we buy houses, we typically say it does not have to be broom swept. We're buying houses in as-is condition. And the contract comes back broom swept, which means that has to be delivered to us perfectly clean. And we could spend $5,000 or $10,000, $15,000 cleaning out houses that we get. We cross out and change it because we promised the client something that their own attorney that missed, and we send that attorney what we want. And they miss it.
Yeah.
So we're the opposing team, and we're not supposed to have to make it better for our client. But that's what happens.
And the irony is that happens because the attorney or his staff are too lazy to carefully read the deal sheet and prepare the contract.
Yep.
And at the same time, too lazy to take a couple of hours and learn how to use AI.
Right.
Because they could have thrown in a template contract,
Right.
their default template seller's rider,
Right.
and your deal sheet,
Right.
and said, redraft this contract and rider to reflect the terms of this deal sheet.
Right.
And they would have had, in a case like that, a better work product than the stuff they came up with.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying they should just send that out without reviewing it, but I guarantee you that the lawyer who did that probably had some support staff in his office slap together that contract, didn't pay attention, didn't cross-check the deal sheet, sent it out and said, here you go, this is close enough.
Right. Close enough.
So, yeah, he's not relying on AI to his detriment. He's just not relying on anything to his detriment.
Right. Absolutely. Well, it's a good thing that we're honorable. We should get a V, right? Because we make a promise, we keep our word. And we've had them where they go through where it was left in and we missed it. We still don't make them do it, even though the contract says that we wouldn't do that. But so it was fascinating. This is a totally different conversation I've had with any other attorney, and that's because you know all those other attorneys, and then I keep off having this conversation. So when you came in to talk about something else, and I was looking at your bio, I said, "Can we please change topics?" It was easy for you. You love this, and you've been doing this a long time. So having someone who, I'm going to use my phrase, is bilingual, you may literally be bilingual, but bilingual meaning technology and law. And
you're right, Russian too.
Right, and Russian too. I said it's all one brain doing all the work, understanding how things are supposed to be. So you bring, I always say, what differentiates you from your firm from other firms? I'll ask that question. I mean, I was going to answer it for you, but I'll ask you the question.
I'd say that wasn't started by a lawyer. It was started by an entrepreneur / tech startup guy who believes that the first thing you do in any industry is question everything.
Right.
break what doesn't work, build up something better. So I approached law with a technological eye, optimize, automate, redo everything. And I also came in as an entrepreneur. I ran 5 or 6 different businesses before becoming a lawyer. So when I walked into running my own law firm, I walked in with the eyes of, I've been my own accountant.
Right.
I've been my own marketing person. I've been my own HR person. And I've done that for large corporations. So given that, I truly, when I started running a solo, started running a business that was built to run itself eventually. And what that means is I brought down costs for the clients because I was able to do things in ways other lawyers never did.
Right.
And I also gave my clients better accessibility to me. I don't do this anymore, but back in the first few years in practice, when you're still trying to start out, my clients had 24/7 access to me directly.
Right. Oh gosh.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
People do need to understand that call at 10 a.m. on a Sunday unless it's an emergency. But in an emergency, they still have access to me. They just have to go via my answering service first.
Right.
But realistically, I was able to run a practice before I had the budget to get an office. I was able to run everything from my home office. Everything was on computers. Everything was tech-based. And clients saved money. Clients didn't have to travel to me. They were shocked when I tell them, well, we can have all our meetings via video meeting or phone meeting. Everything can be shared electronically. No, why do you have to come to my office?
Right.
If you really, really want to, yes, we'll meet in person.
Right.
But I will save you not just your money, but I'll save you your time and a commute. You don't have to get on the subway to come see me. You don't have to drive anywhere.
Right.
You get to your computer and we'll talk.
Right. That's the way it is now. That's the way it is now. You're just ahead of your time. You're just ahead of your time.
Well, the trick is to always stay ahead of your time. See,
Yes.
That was what kept me unique back then. Now it's AI. 6 months from now, who knows what the next new tech is? I'm going to embrace every bit of tech I can.
Right.
My car does so many things for me that allow me to be more efficient at practicing law. You have no idea. I literally have a web browser in my dashboard screen. And if I'm sitting at a charger or even just sitting in traffic, as long as I'm not the one behind the wheel, my car is a mobile computer.
Right. That's fascinating. I remember my accountant years ago said when cell phones were newer, he said, I am not taking any calls on my cell phone while I'm in the car. That's my time to decompress.
How long did that last?
I don't even know if it was a year. It was very funny. I can't imagine being in the car not being on the phone. That's just it's a bad use of your time.
Yeah,
just a bad use of your time. I just work nonstop. I do take those calls on the weekends and nights and put in 9-day work weeks, but I do because I love what I do. I'm 67. I tell people I'm long able to retire. That's not bragging when you're 67. You're supposed to be able to retire. But I just work like crazy because I love the business I'm in. So I just can't get enough of it. So
yeah, I can't imagine retiring.
You can't imagine retiring?
No, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'd have to take on even more, 501c3 projects and committees and boards.
You may retire, but meaning not make any more money working, but it doesn't mean you're not working.
Exactly.
Yes.
I have to.
Yep. Me too. I just can't stop it. I've been self-employed since I'm 22. So that's all I know. And when you're self-employed, the world is your oyster, but the clock is your enemy because you sort of throw out the window. You can still work all the time. And what killed me was COVID, where we started working remotely. I don't leave an office. My office is always with me. Between the cell phone and my laptop and working from an office in my home, it's always there. So after dinner, which is 20 minutes, I'm back to work. Brush my teeth, I'm working. There's never a minute I'm not doing something. So it's not probably not healthy, but it's another story.
What I'll tell you though? There are ways to find time through technology and automation that most people don't realize because it's only little bits of time at a time. But if you add them all up, it's amazing. So to give you an example, I constantly have to go somewhere.
Right.
Now, in the past, I would get into my car, open up my phone, look on the calendar where I'm supposed to be going, and type that into my GPS system. Yeah. Eventually, cars started being integrated with Google Calendar.
Yep.
So now I get into my car, I can tap the calendar icon in the car, tap the podcast recording meeting, and the car knows where to go.
Right.
Now that, you're going to say, well, how much time would it have taken you to type in that address? Sure, 30, 40 seconds.
Right.
But if I have to go to 4 or 5 meetings a day, I just save myself 2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
That's just enough time to stop at Dunkin' and get a coffee.
That's right.
You know, and various other little examples like that. You'd be amazed at how I've automated my days, my weeks, my practice to claw back those little bits of time.
Right.
And let's face it, time is our most valuable commodity. That's the only thing you can't buy.
That's the only thing you can't buy. And when you're billing at 6-minute increments, those minutes add up.
Exactly.
When you're hiring an attorney.
Exactly. So if you think about it, if it was going to take me 53.9 minutes to get to your meeting, and I got in the car, tapped, and went, you're paying for 0.9 of an hour.
That's right.
But if it took me 54.1, we've now passed the 0.9 mark, and you're paying for a whole hour.
Right.
Now, 6 minutes of my time at hourly billing is actually substantial.
Right.
You know, that's an amount of money that the client would prefer to save. It would definitely be a lunch out or even a nice dinner out for one.
Right.
So why would somebody want me not to have that little savings, that 30 seconds, if it can actually change their bill?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have a question. So we can talk for days and days and days. I'm fascinated by this. Part of it's my ignorance about technology. And I know it's so important. I'm using AI and I use chat, very simple, I used to do research for me. So I know the value of the very introductory level of it. So fully integrating it, it's got to be phenomenal. So my big question is, how do people get hold of you?
Well, you can Google me by name, Alexander Paykin. I easily show up. But the easier way of finding me would probably be to go to my website, paykinlaw.net. So that's PAYKINLAW.net. The number for the firm is 212-858-9112. Once you dial that, either ask for me by name, or if you really want, I'm extension 801 for those of you who still like dialing automated systems.
Right. So does a live person answer the phone, or is that automated too?
Well, the initial system is automated. It basically asks you if you know who you're calling for or if you want the next available attorney. But then beyond that, it's all human. I was never a fan of automated phone systems. I spent way too much time on them with Delta and American Airlines and all the other airlines. You know who you are.
So you don't want to do that to them.
Right. I've never imagined there's a single human out there that dials a phone number and thinks to themselves, I hope I get an automated system.
That's right.
Even a bad receptionist is better than an automated system.
Without it.
Most of the time.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But at the same time, you don't want to have a human pick up the phone every time just to direct a call.
Correct.
So the first thing our automated system does is basically say, look, if you know who you want to call, dial their extension or use the dial by name directory. But if you don't, just press one button. We'll get you a human being, and then we'll figure out what you need.
There you go. Perfect. I got to tell you, Alex, it was a real pleasure. It was a totally different podcast than I'm used to having. Thank you so much for coming.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you are going through. So if you are considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out to see how we can help. When working with us, you can sell your home in its current condition, there is no need to remove unwanted items, and you control when the house is sold, along with so many other advantages. Visit leavethekey.com or call us at 631-388-7771 to learn more about our senior home buying process.